Just a process of working. Have you ever had something that sort of got its talons in you and you went down pretty far down a road and it was a failed project, it didn't actually work out? It was something that you just lost interest in?
Yeah, there are projects that, I don't know, maybe there are some things that I lost interest in, but I must say that I'm very careful where I put my efforts in. Yes, yes, I'm calculated in that sense. I don't like it. I would love to be the artist that is less calculated, because this is the image I want for myself, but I'm not. I'm sorry.
Well, so the workshop specifically, maybe we could, how many of you, I'm just curious, how many of you are going to Venice this summer? Not too many. Oh. Wishing. How many of you are wishing to go to Venice this summer? There's a room full of hands.
Nice.
Okay. Well, the workshop, to me, it was almost like watching the movie Exodus in reverse. So can you talk a little bit about the sort of, starting out in Israel and then through these channels of discovery ending up in Europe?
Many people want to read that as, I don't know, I think that many people would love to read that as about the connection between Israel in specific and Venice. And I don't think that's the interesting thing for me. It's about traveling. It's about going under the ground. It's about a world that is constantly being watched by dozens and hundreds of cameras. It's about a world that is completely mapped by Google satellites, where the only way you can really travel without being seen is maybe the oldest way. So it's a way of resistance in a way, and it's iconic. I mean, the idea of traveling or finding a route underground is embedded in our culture, and it doesn't belong to any culture, or you cannot link this to terror in Israel or to something else. You just cannot, and I like that. I like that it's a principle, and I'm just operating with this principle. So for me, it's about going without being seen, and also about the tension between a vector, between a line, between a trajectory, and between an event or a system that goes like this. Okay, right. So it's this versus this.
And is it also the system of agency that the artists have once they get to Venice? Because that seems like a very important part of the piece. The sort of what you call the workshop that actually happens in that space.
Okay, so I needed to, when they called me, so they call you and say, you have 5 weeks to come up with an idea for Venice, okay? So the first
like an anonymous call? It's just like it happened.
You have 5 minutes. Yeah, something like this. And then they're like, oh my fucking God, what do I do? I mean, like in this, like, the instinct is like, okay, I have some works, I can arrange them in the space, but no, you want to do something, right? So it was so weird to me that I was being offered to do that I asked myself the question, how do you want to get to Venice? So my answer was, I would like to dig a hole in my apartment right now and to pop out in the Israeli pavilion, piss on that and go back. Just the energy of that, just to do that. So I wanted to preserve that energy of, I don't know how to call it.
Right.
And I think it refers a lot to the paradigm of the Venice Biennial in particular, because it's a national biennial, right, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, once I start to imagine, and I imagined like, okay, I'm in a garden in a city that is all like tunnels of water, and in this garden there are several buildings, each one of them with the title of a different country, and you just walk and see like, oh, this country, it's like the 19th century. It's completely ridiculous in our world. I mean, and it's also very beautiful in the sense that it's being. So I asked myself, okay, what do you do with that?
Right.
So I think the works deal with that in a way.
And can you talk a little bit about the casting? So 30 people. What were you looking for in that? How did you cast?
I think I'm looking for people that I will enjoy to work with, that can understand the vibe of the project, and with a touch of Neanderthal features.
Okay, hair once again. And the age range?
We had a father and a daughter. The daughter was 13, and they came together, and we had people that are 65 years old. And
Okay.
yes, but mainly the group was like 30, like, you know, the age that I looked for this, like a group that can do something together, but it's weird enough that they are doing it together.
And what prompts did you give them when they started screaming into the mics?
What they
What did you tell them to start screaming? Were they screaming words? Were they?
Oh no, we did a lot of sessions. Okay, so first of all, in order, for example, how do I pick those people? I organized sessions for like 60 people, and they all were sculpting and making noises, and we were recording that. And I saw who was really, I don't know, getting, I don't know, just who looks interesting and who is getting in touch with or in connection with the mud or with the voices. And my directions were very different, very different. I had several ways to approach them. So one of them was like the spiritual one, where I would do like, you are now getting inside your body, and you have to find the most visceral voice you have. And the other would be like, I would describe to you a situation and you would react. And other would be like, okay, I divide you to two groups. You ask a question, like, I mean, metaphorically, and you answer. I mean, many, many techniques that are just, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that. So the things that come to mind when you bring a sort of an art making practice into a piece like this is, you know, like classic tales, myths of Pygmalion, Narcissus, Pinocchio, Genesis, Frankenstein certainly. And there's, you know, without seeing necessarily the sculptures, did you have a sense beforehand what the actual objects, because the idea of the sculptural object is not necessarily has been a part of your work that I know of. And so here's residue. It will be in the exhibition. And how are you going to treat it? What's the, you know, like, does it really matter what they look like? Are they preserved? I think you mentioned the other day they're actually not fired. So so maybe you could talk a little bit about the sculptural aspect of that.
Okay, I wanted to have like a range of like different ways of yeah, the range was important to me. I wanted that some of them, like some people would be like first timers completely, and I would not give them any direction. Actually, I had like in my studio, okay, maybe this explained that the best. I had the pictures of all the participants, and with pictures of the sculptures that they made in the auditions, okay? And I would draw on that and write notes. And the notes could be like, leave this person alone, don't give him any directions. And it could be like, more hair here. Ask this person to tell or get into details here. Or this one, just tell him to be more slow. General things, or many of them I didn't give any direction. Some of them are, there was one guy that was like really professional, and also we stopped the work for sometimes and we did like really workshop. And before we got there, we did some workshop for people that I chose, that I decided that I want them to go through a process of learning, you know, so
he was leading the workshop?
Yes, there were workshops before the workshop. We had workshops only for, let's say, 5 people that I decided, okay, those people, I think they have potential that if they learn something interesting might come out. Everything is like, it's just, you know, you gamble. You don't know. Right.
And then it looks like, at least in the single photo we saw, it almost looks like they're sort of left in shambles. They're sort of left, are they, the sculptural tables sort of get taken apart and they're sort of piled in a corner, or are they still or did that happen at the rave? I mean, did things get a little destructive in the process?
Yes, but I think for the installation I can do what I want. I think the sculptures would be grouped, like together. I don't want to present them as if this is the show or these are objects. In the same way they found the stands just in a pile, that would be I think that would be the way.
So they were actually made all throughout the space, but you'll probably gather them together for
Yes,
the...
yes.